Munich in a moment, but first a new report with an eye-catching title. A Caliphate in decline, an estimate of Islamic State's financial fortunes. It's been put together by the International Centre for the Study of Radicalisation, based at King's College, London University, and John Holland McCowan is based at that centre. His report says Islamic State's annual revenue has more than halved from around 1.9 billion in 2014 to 870 million in 2016. So, how did he come up with those numbers?
We have to rely on multiple sources of data, whether it's leaked ISIS internal documents, whether it's government reports, think tank studies. But ultimately, we rely on some assumptions, and we rely on the data that we find the most compelling. And we're able to find these ranges of estimates that are no sure science, but I think that they're a good reflection of the range of activities that are going on.
Right, so it's an estimate, but you think it's a sort of well-founded estimate?
Yeah, I would say so. I think the ranges are wide enough and yet small enough that they have some compelling lessons we can draw from them.
Tell us about the sources of income. Where does the money come from?
So it comes from a range of sources, taxes and extortion being the largest one. Then it goes to oil, other natural resources such as gas. Also looting and confiscations, whether that's looting banks or it's confiscating motorbikes, industrial equipment, potentially houses of refugees, and then selling them on their own price. Those are the three major sources of income we find.
And if you looked ahead to what many people predict, that Raqqa and Mosul will fall and Islamic State will stop having quite as much territory and big cities as it has now, would this 870 million figure then decline quite rapidly?
Certainly, particularly in the case of Mosul, their long-term commercial capital city. And so to lose a city of Mosul, which is by far their most densely populated city, with that taxable income would be a massive blow to their financial fortunes. Looking
ahead, what do you think will be the main sources of income? Because things like looting and kidnapping, I was hearing the other day that, it can be a case of $6-7 million for one person.
Yeah, perhaps. It's harder now because a lot of international companies, foreigners are no longer going to Syria and Iraq. And so it's harder for them to find these high-profile net worth individuals that governments could perhaps pay for. However, in 2016, we see evidence that they were able to kidnap about 230 Assyrian Christians, and they gained tens of millions of dollars from that. Yes, kidnapping local Syrians and Iraqis is more of a possibility.
And looking ahead, is a declining revenue base the main constraint on so-called Islamic State, or are other factors more important?
When it comes to issues of terrorism, those cost tens of thousands of dollars, maybe. And they're often self-started, self-funded, that might be inspired by ISIS. So by hurting their finances in Iraq and Syria, that does not necessarily impact their ability to perpetuate terrorist attacks abroad or inspire them abroad.
Right, because as we've seen, a student loan is enough.
Right, exactly. It could be a student loan, it could be petty theft, a drug trade. These little things could be enough in order to perpetuate a relatively small-scale terrorist operation.
And that was John Holland McCowan from the International Centre for the Study of Radicalisation.